10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, welcome to Sudbury News Talk on Facebook and YouTube. Just had a technical difficulty that didn't allow us to broadcast to CKLU this morning, so it happens. We're in our other studio, and just the transfer of one particular device caused a malfunction, which I didn't have time to troubleshoot, and so it is what it is. We have Tom Price and Bob Johnson here to have a conversation this morning, and I thought they're waiting in the wings, and it's better to have a longer conversation than just wait for that particular troubleshooting to take place. It could take a half an hour. Who knows how long it would take. So anyways, we just decided to move along with the show, and we put a playlist on CKLU. So hopefully the listeners that we have on CKLU also know to find us on social media, and they could find the show that way or immediately following the show on demand on Facebook.com/Sudbury News or YouTube.com/Sudbury News. We got the better part of almost 45 minutes or so to have a great conversation this morning. So let's just dive in with a little bit of weather to begin, and then we'll have Bob Johnson and Tom Price joining us momentarily. So let's just dive into that, and then we'll be back right after this. Okay, Sudbury weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Currently, it's 10 degrees. And it's I can just tell it's very foggy. So today, it'll be sunny with the fog patches dissipating this morning. High of 26, humidex 30. So it will be very hot. It was hot yesterday as well. Again, hot today. Tonight, increasing cloudiness, 30% chance of showers late this evening and overnight with a low of 15. Tomorrow, mainly cloudy, 30% chance of showers or drizzle in the morning, and then a high of 18. So a little less hot tomorrow. And then overnight, tomorrow, cloudy with 30% chance of showers as well, then with a low of 9. And then into your Friday, it's sunny with a high of 17. Saturday, 18 with a mix of sun and cloud. Mix of sun and cloud on Sunday as well, high of 19. And a 30% chance of showers on Monday with a high of 19, 18 with a 30% chance of showers on Tuesday. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments. Actually, we will be talking about some news headlines. We'll get your comments in. We'll get some shout outs first off in the show, and then we'll welcome in Bob Johnson and Tom Price, and we're going to have a really great discussion. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great show. So first of all, let's see. We have quite a few people joining us this morning. Judy on Facebook, good morning to you. Monique, also on Facebook, good morning. And Judy's saying good morning to Bob and Tom, which we're going to have a lot of people doing that, I'm sure. Trevor, you got your sword emoji, Shield, Canada, and your favorite morning beverage emoji. Kicking back and enjoying the show, as well as Pierrette, bon matin, same to you. And Marianne, good morning, everyone from Barrie, liked and shared. As usual, Maurice, good morning. Smiley emoji. And good morning, gentlemen. Such a pleasure to have you join us today. That's Belinda. Good morning, Bob and Tom. Andrew, good morning to you. And good morning, Truth Troopers. You got your muscle emoji, Canada flag emoji. How about that Charlie Angus with a kind of a crazy smiley face emoji? Yes, and I would, my own point of view, that's the right emoji for that. And Pat, good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Denise, blessings, everyone. And with that, let's welcome in our guests. Here we have, I got to get their mics on before I welcome them on, because I've had them before with no mic. And here we go. First off, Bob Johnson, good morning to you. How are you doing this morning?
Always doing fine, my friend. How are you?
Not bad. I can't say I'm always doing fine. I do have my ups and downs, but today I am. I just saw one of your videos. I've been seeing a couple of them lately. You've been doing a lot of talking with some people who unfortunately are not housed at the moment and struggling downtown, and there are pretty good conversations, and you've been having quite a few of them lately. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the story of the shoes, there's so many people are really interested in it, and they're all speaking from their heart and the situation they're actually in with their back up against the wall. One of my problems as I go along, I'm going to try and do 3 videos a week until we can get this all straightened out. But I look at the greater city of Sudbury, and I'm not always picking on them, but the homeless, they failed. They had 1 out of 7 on their report card a couple months back. Now today, you pick up the Sudbury Star, and business owners and their safety downtown are all up in the air. Well, that's stating a fact that there's something wrong. And then we have our council moving out to Azilda for a while, because Tom Davies Square has a lot of homeless around here at this point. Okay? I had a guy who I was working with, mental health and addictions, and it was the same guy who I drove to Elliott Lake. He was released 5 days later due to no beds. And the people who say that there's help out there, please do your homework. I called everywhere trying to get this gentleman in to a treatment center, and the only one would have been Northern Ontario Addictions and Mental Health, 3-year OHIP wait, or $48,000 cash at the door. Is that not like unreal? So where are we going? Where are we going to help these people? So they want help.
So if I can just stop you there. It's just something that stood out to me when you said he's either going to wait or he can come up with almost $50,000 cash, and then that would put him to the front of the line. What's up with that?
Correct. The door's open for him, $48,000.
Well, but how is that? Like, most people are probably thinking the same thing as me, thinking, well, that's not the way our healthcare system works, right? So we have universal health care. Everyone's equal. Everyone gets treated the same. So how could somebody get to the front of the line if they pay $50,000 cash
give it a call. Northern Ontario Addictions and Mental Health. 3-year OHIP wait or $48,000 cash. I couldn't believe it. So who can afford actually treatment? Nobody.
Mob people's sons and daughters, I guess. People that have lots of money that have their children suffering from addictions could probably slap down a cold hard $50,000 cash and get their kids in there quick.
I understand that too. But what I'm saying is a 3-year OHIP wait.
I'm saying,
You know?
and I'm saying the same thing. That's it's just not right.
No. And look at the streets of Sudbury, for example. And I know this is happening all over the place, but I was born and raised in Sudbury, and that's what I fight for. Okay? How does anybody get any help in addictions, the mental health, the housing? It's a total failed system. So yes, they go from homeless to addictions to mental health. They're all one key. The criminals, well, they're involved in that too, homeless word. And I hate that because the homeless are getting blamed a lot. Hey, they're not perfect by any means, but they're getting blamed a lot for the crimes that are happening in Sudbury.
I noticed some of the questions you asked, those that you interviewed. You asked them, were you in addiction? Well, you said basically, did being homeless drive you to addiction, I think was the question you asked. And you had mixed answers there with people. Some of them, yes, some of them, no. But in some cases, yes. Some cases because of the hard times they fell on and the fact that it was so readily available caused them also to start taking drugs and falling into addiction.
Exactly.
And you also ask them, how do you feel this? Do you feel you're getting support from the organizations in the community? And you also had mixed reviews on that as well. Did you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, sure. Like I said from day one, that these people, you know, in the last week, I found so many people so lonely and wanting to share their story because they just wanted somebody to talk to. And it was amazing. Amazing. The city came out with numbers of less than 40% of the people on housing and help and all this other stuff. It's so baloney. It is unreal. Why can't we just be honest and work together with each other and move this problem and the conclusion to the end? I said from day one, and this is where my heart goes, and it says, let's buy a couple of old schools. We have the gyms, we have the kitchens, we have the classrooms, we can make the bedrooms, and let's educate these people so we can move them into their own units once upon a time if they ever got done. But you can't just take somebody off the street either and say, hey, look at this. Here's your pad. Good luck. And that's right across friggin' Canada. So I don't understand why our city is not, well, our city right now with the homeless, addictions, and mental health, all they're doing is taking 50 pounds of sugar and pouring it on all these numbers that don't make any sense and state that that's what it is. All the homeless, all the agencies like addictions and so on, the walk-in clinics are all downtown. Why would the city chase them all over the Sudbury, out into Lively, Chelmsford, Belcarra, and Cape all the way around when they know that there's no help and they know that there's no agencies will go out there? It just blows my mind. But these people who are running these programs in the city are on the sunshine list making $250,000 a year. How? Wow. It's amazing.
And I got that same impression too from your interviews. Also, one thing I think I would like to see you add to your questions, and I could possibly just send you some suggestions. And you did ask a couple of them, are you originally from Sudbury? Because that's one, I guess, rumor that was going around at some point in time, that people were being bused here from larger centers. And I think you doing this is probably the best way to get a lot of that information, is because you're speaking to people one-on-one and just finding, hey, were you raised in Sudbury? How long have you been homeless for? You know, like what caused you to be homeless in the first place, you know? And yeah. And I found a few, like one was from Sudbury, but went to Ottawa and then met his girlfriend there and moved back here. One other person it sounded like some organization got them an apartment and it only lasted for 2 months. And they felt like they were prisoners or something in the apartment. They had all kinds of rules and things like that. And so I'm not sure what he was talking about with that particular situation. Are you more familiar with what happened there?
Yeah. So what happened was him and his fiance had an apartment, and they had problems with their neighbors and so on. Wasn't safe, and that's when he decided that he'd rather go to Energy Court. And
which was interesting to me, because he said he felt safer in a tent city than he did in the particular accommodations that he was provided at the time, which you wouldn't think would be the case, right?
Well, not to most people, but you never know, and that's why everybody has a story. Yeah. For example, like if you're in a building or whatever, what's pretty rough and stuff. Apparently, we're not short-staffed police, but there is a lot on PTSD and stress leave and etc. Right? So our police force is basically a skeleton, and in today's society, nobody wants to be a police officer because it's a fishing game. It's catch and release. You catch the people, you go to court, they release them. So I think everybody is getting fed up, and I think everybody has to start looking after each other like the good old days, and bring back the love and the care and the respect, what we've lost totally right across the board, whether we're talking homeless or middle class or high class, it don't matter. All those words are gone. I mean, the dictionary probably lost about half its pages stating what's what and so on and so on. And another thing that gets me, talking about the police, is why do we not have a police unit on the outskirts? Back in the day when things were good, we had Cecil Phaser for the youth, we had group homes for the youth, we had youth programming, etc., etc. Today, we have no satellite police stations on the outskirts of Sudbury. We have no group homes. Cecil Phaser's closed. And no offense, but I sort of feel sorry for the police because they're so overwhelmed by, they got to deal with the public and then they got to deal with the courts. And I've seen it myself, that an officer would bring somebody into the courts and they would be out before the cop even left. So our system is very, very broken. We have no help anywhere. And I don't know. But I definitely will add those questions into your story.
Well, there was a story just yesterday about the problems with closing down Cecil Phaser and some of the concerns with that. Just trying to find it here. Corrections Union calls for changes to address violence and overcrowding in Ontario jails was another one. So there's overcrowding in our jails. We don't have big enough jails, for one, for what we even need. And so a lot of people are saying, just take the homeless and arrest them or whatever. So that's not going to work. So that's just not an option. And it's not sustainable either. And then the headline for Cecil Phaser from Sudbury.com was harmful consequences to Cecil Phaser closure. The police board said in a draft letter to the province, the Greater Sudbury Police Service Board advocates for the Cecil Phaser Centre to remain open. So you can see our local police are advocating for it to stay open. Were you aware of that?
Yes, because what happens, and yeah, it has to stay open because, like I said, all our youth right now are not angels by any means. And by adding the liquor and beer into the confectionery stores and gas stations, oh my God, it's so easy access for everything.
Yeah. And that doesn't help people with addictions at all because it just puts it in more locations and makes it more easy accessible for people.
Correct. And like I said, they're not paying for it either. I think that was a big mistake when they did that because the business owners now are really taking it. You know, they're getting a good slap there by adults even.
So there was that story you alluded to in the Sudbury Star yesterday. It had all kinds of. There's like almost 300 emojis on that story. I just shared the picture of the story.
Right.
And the comments, how many comments? So almost 300 comments as well on that. And I haven't been able to find a positive comment yet looking through it. I don't know, while I was sleeping, I didn't look at it anymore this morning. And I'd like to welcome all those new people that are on and they're saying hello to everybody. Thanks for being on, guys. Continue to be on. And when you're on, comment. We get your comments up on the screen for those watching. And usually we'll read a good amount of those comments as well. Less so when we have guests on the show, but just continue to comment. You have a few shout outs here, Bob and Tom. So you guys are welcome to read the comments as I put them up on the screen as well. But yeah, so the headline from the Sudbury Star was Greater Sudbury failing to make downtown safe, says a business leader. And then the Sudbury Star has a poll as well. So I would encourage everyone. I don't know if the poll is closed. I know it opened yesterday, but it'd be interesting to see what the results are from that poll. Maybe while we're talking, I'll try and search it up here.
See, I'm going to go back to our city where we have security and bylaw everywhere. And once again, their hands are tied. They can't do nothing. So why are we not enforcing this on the streets with more police officers, more mental health and addiction workers? I don't know. To me, I look back, I sit back and I say, is this a employment grab? So Sudbury can look so pretty because they got all this employment? I don't understand. But I do understand that there's a lot of people who are in fear and they all know that the security can't do nothing. And they know that bylaw can't do anything except call the police. Well, that's what Johnny or anybody else could do too. So we're spending our money in the wrong places.
And what do the police do? So let's say someone does call the police. Somebody's sleeping in my doorway or somebody's using in front of my storefront. They call the police. In your experience, what happens?
Well, maybe 4 or 5 days later, you might get a call. I'll tell you a little story. 1 minute. I know a guy who broke in and stole out of a restaurant, stole their float, broke the front window, stole from the liquor store, stole from a grocery store, lit a fire. Do you know where he is today?
No.
Yeah. He's on the street. Why? And let me add, he also has a bench warrant. And where is he? On the street.
And that goes back to the story we just alluded.
Paper or whatever is way, way too long.
And that
You're
goes
never
back.
going to. Sorry.
Yeah, it goes back to the story I was just alluding to before, saying that our Northern Ontario jails are overcrowded and underfunded and whatever, and the conditions are terrible as well. And so there's a couple moving parts here too, right? So we have a lot of things going on, and it's complex. So you have a housing shortage. You have a legal system that appears to be broken, as you just alluded to that one story alone. Like back in the day, if you did those things, you'd be doing some time. If you lit some place on fire or you had a warrant for your arrest and you weren't showing up and all these things, you would have some kind of consequence. And a lot of times it would, and if you continued to do something, you would end up incarcerated for a period of time. So it's no longer the case. So that doesn't happen anymore. It only happens for certain people. We're not sure who, but only certain people get punished or whatever, given a sentence and do time. And even if you do, you're back out on the street again, quickly, catch and release type of thing.
Exactly. So the middleman in all of this is the probation officers, and they know that nothing's going to be done. Mm-hmm. And their attitude shows it. I dealt with 2 last week, and trust me.
So what does that say then? Like, when the word goes around, well, look, you can do almost anything you want and you're not going to have any consequences for it. That's not good for a society in general. Like, so there's, we see all these home invasions too around Canada where these people were out. They were supposed to be incarcerated, but they're out. Now they're invading people's homes and in some cases killing people. In one case, a father ate in front of his young child in Toronto.
That was so sad.
It is. And again, this isn't a Sudbury problem. We've talked about this before. It's not a Sudbury problem. However, we have to live with it in Sudbury. So we could have Sudbury solutions, even though it's not a Sudbury problem. And so you see, then we have our addictions crisis. So you have a housing crisis, a legal crisis, an addictions crisis, where that system, I think, is, from what I've been able to gather, broken as well, where now we have methadone clinics and free, you know what I mean? There's an industry around this is what I'm saying. And I don't know if it's the right thing.
I'm diabetic for 48 years. Why do I buy my needles and the addictions are free?
Right? So it didn't take you and I just 2 seconds to come to that conclusion with common sense, but yet you have an industry created around something that's fundamentally at its ground roots principally wrong, but it continues somehow. So these are things we struggle with in Sudbury, even though they're not Sudbury made. They affect us, and we could find Sudbury solutions for it. You're on the ground. You're out there pretty much on a daily basis, and it seems like you're digging in your heels, and I just want to thank you for all that you do out there, where the rubber hits the road with the boots on the ground. Speaking to those people, I think you found your thing in gathering the stories of people, because then so it was like I was there with you while you were interviewing these people. When you, so, and I'm not the only one who feels that way. We've had many people commenting already saying same thing. They've seen your interviews. And I think that's going to make an impact, at least to get the word out, at least to have people meet those and feel, wow, this guy's pretty intelligent. The way that's not what I thought a homeless person would sound like. He's got some pretty great ideas and stuff. And he seems to see exactly the way things are working, So I think people then relate more, and there's less of a barrier between those that aren't experiencing homelessness and those that are. So anyways, I just wanted to thank you for all that. If you have something to add before we move along to Tom, here's your chance.
Yeah. Imagine $500 million arena versus solutions, compromises, and cleaning up and rebuilding our city. Which way would you want to go?
For sure.
And my last statement would be our sunshine list, et cetera, to the taxpayers. We have a guy named Tony Secudi who just took his pension. That's on the left hand. But on the right hand, He's a project manager for the arena and so on. So he's getting paid again.
Oh, didn't realize
Imagine
that.
that. What a coincidence. Exactly. Why wouldn't he work an extra year or whatever to finish his projects? No, he goes on pension and then he takes the gravy. And on
Well,
that, taxpayer, I love you. Have a good day. Here's Tom.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. And he's not the only one who's doing that. I think that's a pretty common thing in our society these days. And so he's not the only one. It's just he's a recent Sudbury example for sure. And good morning, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. And you?
I'm doing okay. I'm feeling better now. I was up all night last night with a sick grandson who has, what do they call it, croup or whooping cough or whatever it is. It's could hardly breathe. He had terrible cough. Wow, we were pretty scared anyways, so we were up all night with him. So I'm doing, considering that, I'm doing okay. So
Good.
So what's the latest greatest, Tom? What kind of things have you been working on these days?
Well, just about everything. Just maybe at the beginning, a couple of things. We've got to cut out all this talk about how complex an issue the homeless and the drug addictions and that is. It's not complex.
Okay.
It's only complex because we choose to make it complex. If we sort out what the cause of those issues are, the solutions will come very easy. But we don't want to do that because we put too many public employees out of work. And to hell with the people who are disadvantaged. Why did we turn prisoners loose during COVID? Why did we close mental health facilities? We do better for animals than we do for our human brothers and sisters. If you have a dog that is a problem in the neighborhood, money will be spent no end to retrain that dog to be a kind and contributing animal in the neighborhood. Why can't we do the same for our public, for our people? Take these people, put them in a place where we can control the environment so that they can recover. It doesn't cost that much, certainly not $500 million. But we don't do that. And instead, people will snipe at us for wanting to do such. Why is
Cecil Phaser?
Cecil Phaser closing? It's needed. But why are we allowing it to close? Like, why did we close the mental health asylums? Those were people who could not be cured of their problem. Now what are we doing? We're trying to deal with people with Alzheimer's and dementia in our regular senior centers, where these people need specialized care. But we don't look at it that way. Or we turn them out on the street like we did prisoners, like we do everybody. Any criminal, he's back on the street, as Bob mentioned, within hours. Why? What's wrong with the people that are supposedly leading this country? They know the opinion. The poll you suggested about yesterday, last time I looked at it last evening, 88% thought it was too dangerous to go downtown. 88%. Isn't that a message to anybody on council or the mayor? Don't they get it that the public is not in agreement with where this city's going? And there was an article in the New York Times a while ago, The Surprising Allure of Ignorance. Well, if I don't know about it, I don't have to be held responsible. Is that what they're doing? I don't know about it, therefore I can't do anything. And don't tell me about it, because then I'll know. This
I remember
is horrible.
one of the most popular, I guess, answers that politicians, at least in the United States during the 1990s, and it was the Clinton administration, and then maybe afterwards as well, when they're being asked questions was, I have no recollection.
Well, another one along that same line. Why don't we reference or do benchmarking? Now, benchmarking is a system whereby you compare what happened in other situations to your situation. And the event center is a prime example. Even if we limit it to $200 million, as Mr. Chakouti would say, ignoring interest, even if you limit it to that, if you go into a Journal of Economist Studies, there was an article put out in 2022, which I forwarded a copy to you. Mm-hmm. And in there, they've documented that with event centers, crime goes up. All the issues we're talking about increase. They don't decrease, they increase. That's 130 studies have determined that. In addition to that, there's another 30 references to papers put out. They weren't studies, but they were simply technical papers. Why were those not referenced in trying to sell the event center? That was available in 2022. Both consultants who were engaged, PricewaterhouseCoopers and Brisbane Brook Bainin, both had access to those if they had simply looked or were allowed to put it in the report. And I suspect they weren't allowed to put it in the report because those are two professional organizations who should have provided benchmarking criteria. They didn't. Out of 33 projects they referenced, they didn't include a post-audit, they didn't include the impact on gross domestic product, and they didn't provide any benchmarking. Why not? Why did our council not ask for it? I mean, these are standard procedures. So they're deliberately ignoring them. I don't want to know. Now, I know why those never got referenced, the three conclusions of the study. The event centers and sports facilities are dud. They do not offer anything positive to a community. It was a result of those 130 studies. Do we know better than these people? Did we study it in the detail they did? Which of our counselors has actually sat down and did an economic study of the project? I can tell you, for pretty safe ground, none. Okay? I don't think any of them, unless they happen to read what I sent them, even know about the study. So,
and did you send the study to them?
Yes, but I suspect that my emails to counselors are blocked. I may be wrong.
Kidding.
No, I know they were blocked 3-4 years ago. They may still be blocked. When Mr. Archer was here, he made sure my emails to counselors didn't get to them until he vetted them.
And you can't just send them send directly to them, like at their. Do they get vetted first when you send it directly to them, to their emails, their city email addresses?
I have no idea. All I know is none of them ever comment, none of them ever react.
Wow.
And that report that I sent to you is a report that every counselor should have read, and they should have taken action to stop the event center. Nothing has happened.
See, I think what's happened, and it's not great because I've talked at length about what happens in bureaucracy is what happens. Elected officials are only there for so long, they come and go, but the bureaucrats stay for their entire careers. They're the ones really pushing different things. And so I think our counselors were relying on the bureaucrats to do the research and then give them a report, and then they just go on that. And let's say the bureaucrat isn't doing their due diligence and they're just giving them information based on what, it doesn't have all the information in it. That's what they base their information on. So when you're sending them this study, they're like, well, that's not my job. That's the bureaucrat's job in whatever department to make the report and then give it to us. And that's the thing we're going to be discussing and making our decision on. Am I wrong on that, or?
No. Well, just one simple example, okay? The cost of this project. That issue's been raised many times, and the latest one that we had, a response to anything on the cost of the event center, was Councillor Perron saying he'd have the cost by September. Have you heard back from him?
Well, September's not over yet, but it's more than half over as I look at my computer.
I thought he said by September.
No, he said in September. So, like, meaning by September, in September. So, yeah, he still has 13 plus days or whatever to come good on that.
Okay, that's just one councillor. Okay, but the entire council, like right now, and it's gross. Right now, there's a number of culverts being installed all over the city. Okay, they got capital project. They put it under a capital project so they wouldn't have to include it in their operating costs. Normally, you would replace culverts as they reach the end of their life. We put it all in one big lump project. Okay, and just for the information of those listening, that culvert project is $8.5 million worth of projects across the city. But it's going to cost us $7.4 million in interest because they've spread the cost over the next 25 years. They borrowed the money and spread the cost over 25 years. Half of those culverts are going to fail in 10 to 15 years. How did they get away with spreading it over 25? Like, where's our council on this?
So is that how long a culvert? So a culvert only lasts that long? That's news to me. That's interesting.
The galvanized ones, yes. In this city, the galvanized ones rot out on the bottom within 15 years. 18 years would be a maximum.
So why do they install culverts that rot out in 15 years? Are there better ones they could be putting in?
Well, they could put in concrete ones or plastic ones. But plastic ones they can't put in because apparently plastic floats in the water and the groundwater would push the culverts out of the ground. What
True.
A pile of bull.
Oh, it's not true. Okay.
No, it's not true. There are lots of plastic culverts that don't pop out of the ground with a rainstorm.
So why are we? So what's the purpose of installing culverts that only last a short amount of time? Then you got to go back and do all the work over again. It almost sounds like they have the same philosophy of doing culverts than they do for our roads.
Oh yeah, well that's not bad. The other one that's really offensive is playground revitalization, a cost of $2.2 million. Because it's financed over 25 years, that $2.2 million will require $1.6 million in interest. Now, on top of that, the $2.2 million was only based on revitalizing half of the playgrounds. The other half was going to be financed by a contribution from the United Way. COVID hit, the United Way couldn't raise the $2.2 million, the other 2.2, so the city has now had to pick it up. I don't know where they're hiding the extra $2.2 million because I haven't seen any numbers on it. But it was originally a $4.4 million project. United Way couldn't come up. Who relies on the United Way contributions to take on a project like that? And what's wrong with our council that they don't question these issues? I mean, if somebody tells you you're going to get a contribution from the lottery, are you going to go out and buy $1 million home? No.
Nope.
When you see the money, then you'll buy the home. Okay?
Yes.
And that isn't what they did. They borrowed money on a debenture for 25 years, paying off $2.2 million. That should be petty cash in our annual budget.
No,
Our annual budget is over $600 million.
Yeah, no, we're going to be the most in debt city in Ontario at the taxpayer's cost of $3,333 per taxpayer, according to the Fraser Institute's findings. That
That's
came
not
out.
per taxpayer. Excuse me. That's not per taxpayer. That's per citizen.
You're right. You did make that correction the last time. I made the same mistake of saying taxpayer, but per citizen, you're right. Even those that are too young to contribute to paying taxes, it costs them. So you're born in Sudbury, you're born with an extra $3,333 to pay off before you even cry your first cry in the delivery room.
Now, that's only half the offensiveness that I find in support of Bob. The city published gross domestic product increases, but they didn't publish the gross domestic product decreases. Every life we lose decreases our gross domestic product by 200,000 200,000 a year for their entire lifespan, because that individual is no longer a productive citizen. The homeless, every person that goes into homelessness reduces our GDP by 50,000 a year, okay, for the remaining lifespan of their productive years, because they're no longer productive. They're not contributing to the gross domestic product. That's in addition to the cost of supporting them with food, clothing, housing, whatever. That is a deduction from gross domestic product. Those two reports should have had major, if you're going to mention gross domestic product, major cost penalties. We're not competitive, and we're going to get less so. Crime is going to go up, according to the economists, 130 different studies. And by the way, each study isn't done by one economist, it's done by 4 or 5. So you can account on 130 studies being 500 to 600 economists in the world, North America primarily. In fact, even our own resident economist, Mr. Robinson, stated that approving the downtown event center was a disaster. Did anybody listen to him? No. And David, he may be Green Party, and maybe some people are offended by that, but he spoke the truth about the event center. And nobody listened. We had a 2022 report with 130 studies that prove it's not a good idea. It's only done to satisfy the sports industry. And they make the money off our losses as taxpayers.
Well, I remember there was a meme on Facebook that said 100% of scientists will agree with whoever's funding them or something like that. You know what I mean? Their studies will always show the positive outcomes to whoever's funding it. And similar here. You know?
Yes.
Economists are the same as scientists in that regard.
Well, and the same here. Like, when the KED was in vogue and a lawsuit was launched to stop it, the judge would not hear evidence about the impact on our water supply. He would not allow that evidence to be presented by a scientist. And the scientist knew what he is talking about, still does. But the judge wouldn't allow that evidence. Why? And we put up with that as citizens. There's no justice. We have no principles anymore. And we talked about that last time. We've put together, as you know, a presentation to the public for later this month. And we're just in the final stages right now of making sure the facts are all 100% accurate. Okay? That will be starting within the next couple weeks. And we're hoping to have the first one with a group of our younger citizens that are in attendance at the university. So if we can make that happen, it'll be great. But we will be going out into other smaller communities and making the same presentations. It says unequivocally that there is no benefit to the event center, just costs.
Yep.
Because we rely on that study by the economists of North America. They know what they're doing. They're not that good at projecting future, but they do a good job of analyzing past. Okay?
Good point there. When you said you're going to be taking your studies to the smaller communities as well, I know Belinda made a comment of how the hats off to Levack and Onaping. That community raised funds and worked their tails off to put in a splash pad and nice playgrounds. And they shouldn't have had to raise that money, but they did. And so it was the citizens of the smaller communities in Levack and Onaping that raised the money themselves. And so they did it old school.
Well, I'll tell you what they do out there in New School. This is 2-3 years ago now, but the community center in Onaping Falls is an old school. They had a roof leak. The library is in that building. There's a clothing center in there for the homeless or those in need of clothing, can't afford to buy them in the stores. There's other functions in there. There's a pool in there. But the roof developed a leak. Do you know what happened at council? Council decided that staff should bring, this was in summer, staff should bring to council at time of budget a business case to repair the roof for the next year's budget. Excuse me, Mr. Counselor, or Miss Counselor, or Mrs. Counselor, whatever you are. A roof leak needs to be fixed now, not to make a business case for it, not to wait a year to do it. By then, the building is rotted and you've destroyed the facility. So that's what's going on in our city with this council. And quite frankly, I tried being friendly, and people say that all I do is criticize. I couldn't criticize if there wasn't anything there to criticize. Do the right things and I'll be supportive.
Yeah, you always need, and I would call it critiquing. You know, it's more of a positive way of saying exactly what you are doing when you point things out that. So it's like anybody, you know, if you're doing something in a certain way and somebody comes to you and says, oh, did you know there's a more efficient, less cost way to do what you're doing? Most people, if it was their money and their time and it was their project, they would be happy to hear those things. Oh, did you know I got a friend? He's got a cheaper product for you that you could use for building your house. And I got a few friends and hey, are you able to do any work? I can show you how to do some work here and save some money and do it yourself. We would be all about stuff like that if it was our own money and our own time and everything. And if you had a roof leak in your house, you wouldn't be saying, how about we wait a year to put a business case together to see if we could fix our roof leak in our house. You just wouldn't do things like that, you know?
No, and I don't know. It just gets extremely frustrating to hear people saying that all we do is criticize. Well, work on your counselor. Get your counselor to do the right thing. And I won't be criticizing. I'll be backing that counselor.
So here's a question. I'm sure it wouldn't be the first time you heard this question. Have you ever considered running for council?
Yes, I have. And if I would be the only one there, like Councillors Vagnini and Montpellier, I'd end up killing somebody, and I couldn't live with that on my conscience.
Okay. Well, at least you're honest. It would be very frustrating. Well, it's frustrating regardless, I'm sure, but if you had to go there every day and just face the opposition head on and just have to go through all of that, you'd need at least a few other councillors in there of a like mind to at least, you know, not be the only one type of thing. But you wouldn't be the only person who's had to be in that situation in the past, as we've seen Montpellier and Vagnini have to take those roles before, right? And it's it is what it is, and it's the society we live in. Sudbury's not the only one. We have this. It's human nature, and our society has allowed this to. Unfortunately, this part of our human nature, we have a lot of aspects of our human nature, but we've allowed this not so nice aspect of our human nature to go, too far. And it's just, I don't see a easy way back from it myself, where people are just allowed to get away with what they're getting away with. And it's systematic at this point, where you have bureaucracies,
Well, just to give anybody watching who does come to, or if they do decide to come to our presentations, you will find that you, if nothing gets done, will be paying a city tax to finance $15 million a year for the next 25 years for that arena. Figure out what the total cost of that will be to you. $15 million per year times 25 years. If you got a calculator, work it out, and you'll know what the arena is costing you.
That is, and again, though, there's people on here that just, it's great to hear the sobering facts, the truth. A lot of people are like, just give me the truth.
That's all we're doing.
Some people like Jack Nicholson's character in A Few Good Men, where he's like, you can't handle the truth, right? And there's some people like that too. Ignorance is bliss for some people, and the truth, some take it to be hard or harsh. But what would you rather have? Would you rather be lied to with a smile, or just told the truth with a straight face, at least an honest face, and an honest heart? And truth, it stands alone. It's not about how you feel about it, really. You could feel all you want about truth and not like it, but that's not going to change it, because it's just self-evident.
You don't have to make up lies. Yeah, you don't have to make up any lies to cover the truth.
No.
It's that simple.
And we do see that, unfortunately, in our society more and more on a daily basis. But all we can do is continue to try to do the right thing in the sphere that we can control. And that's what I really appreciate about you guys and what you're doing. And so keep up the good work. And if you wanted to send me that email that outlines the plan to include a lot of our young people at the university and what I can do to help with that, I'll do everything in my sphere of influence or whatever, which is very small, but I'll do everything I can to help you guys to make that come to pass.
Well, thank you very much for any assistance you can provide. And I guess our time has run out, so I'll turn you back to Bob.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for all the hard work that you do. Hey, Bob.
Hey, so send me an email or a text of some of the questions you want.
Sure.
Like I said, I plan to do 3 videos a day, or a week. And on that note, thank you all listeners, and have a beautiful day. The weather is great.
Yeah, enjoy it while you can. And thanks, guys, for being on. That was Bob Johnson, Tom Price. They've come on quite regularly, at least one time every 2 weeks, which we appreciate the updates and looking into how we can help those that are less fortunate on the streets of Sudbury and those dealing with mental health and addictions, and looking at how we can hold our city, those in charge, or those with the ability to handle our finances and make decisions about the city's finances, accountable, and give them the information that we would hope they would want to have. That seems to be Tom Price is doing such a good job on that. So we appreciate having them on and giving us the latest, greatest on those 2 issues in particular. There won't be a show tomorrow or Friday. So we'll see you guys same time, same place, God willing, on the same platforms Monday. So I know it's a ways off right now, but have a great weekend. And Earshot Daily is playing already on CKLU. And remember to stay aware, like, share, take care, and we'll see you later on Monday. Everyone, take care, stay safe. Ciao.